Studio's still not done upstairs, so. As a modern philosopher once put it, oops, I did it again. You're going to get 4 videos for episode 47, 2 of them dropping at 10 o'clock, 2 of them dropping at 9 a.m. That's what we got to do. Hi, this is John Hartzar, and welcome to episode 47 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. We continue our look at Tom and Jerry in the 60s with the reappearance of a very familiar name, Chuck Jones. All of his cartoons were released on the 2-disc set, Tom and Jerry, the Chuck Jones collection. Kind of like the Gene Deitch collection. Makes perfect sense. So let's go into Chuck's background a little bit before we get to the next set of tunes. Charles Martin Jones was born on September 21st, 1912 in Spokane, Washington, with his family moving to LA a few months later. He began his artistic career when he was very young for a kind of depressing reason. His father would start a new business and get new stationery made up for each one. As they would successively go under, he'd have his children use them up by having them draw on the paper with the pencils. This led to Chuck practically perfecting his own style at a very young age. In 1933, he went to work for Leon Schlesinger, and a few years later was assigned to a new unit led by new hire Fred Avery. With no room at the studio, the team moved over to another building dubbed Termite Terrace by the gang owing to its dilapidated state. He and fellow animator Bob Clampett began supervising cartoons on their own, with Chuck taking over for Frank Tashland's unit when he left, for the second time, in 1938. He has to thank Robert McKimson for the opportunity. He was offered the job, but suggested Chuck should take it instead. In these early days, Jones wanted to make cartoons like Walt Disney, leading to some overly cute cartoons and some downright confusing ones. Eventually, someone gave him the advice, "Why don't you make cartoons the way you want?" So this was the time, as Jerry Beck put it, we lured him to our side. From there, mainly working with Michael Maltese, he began to develop his own style, first through an experimental period, which helped in the evolution of such characters as Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, while creating his own characters such as Pepe Le Pew, Marvin the Martian, and the Roadrunner and Coyote. By the 1950s, Jones hit his stride, releasing a string of classics, many of which made the list of the greatest cartoons ever made. The Hunting Trilogy, Duck Amuck, Duck Dodgers, One Froggy Evening, and of course, What's Opera Doc. As the decade wound down, he sought to become more experimental and stretch his horizons a bit. In 1962, this stretching led him to help out his old friends over at UPA as they were making a new film. Chuck and his wife came up with the story for Gay Paris, with most of his Warner's team pitching in. Unfortunately, Chuck had an exclusivity deal with the studio, and as luck would have it, Warner's picked up the film for distribution. When they saw the movie, they immediately recognized the style. Jones was fired, but probably for the best since the studio shut down their animation unit a year or so later. But he didn't stay idle. He teamed up with producer Les Goldman, not to be confused with Les Grossman, to create Sib Tower 12 Productions. They were soon approached by MGM, who were looking to continue making Tom and Jerry cartoons after they ended their deal with Gene Deitch. With most of his old Warner's crew in tow, he set out to do something very different from what he was doing over at Warner's. This time he'd be dealing with characters well established for over 2 decades, yet looked to find something new to do with them. Let's see how he did. This episode will deal with the cartoons from 1963 to 1965. They don't exactly match up with disc 1, but it's close enough. We'll deal with the last 2 on the disc next time. These were all done in Metrocolor, budgets and all. Penthouse Mouse was released on July 27, 1963. Maurice Noble co-directed with Chuck, and Michael Maltese co-wrote it with him. Tom enjoys life in a luxurious penthouse apartment until a hungry Jerry uses a nearby construction site to get him up to the top floor. The two end up battling it out in the apartment and on the site. This cartoon introduced Jones's redesigned versions of the duo and featured a new opening with Tom replacing Leo the Lion in the MGM logo. It also established the visual style that would define the remaining 33 theatrical shorts, as well as much of the remainder of Jones's career.